It's really frustrating because I need to be able to, I just need to get feedback, just knowing what's open and what's not, and just quickening up my process. So that's all it is. It's not really, I know everybody's doing their best, so it's not really frustrating because if I miss a throw, I wouldn't want, everybody to be that way towards me. So
5 starting offensive linemen gone, not rotated, not quietly benched, completely replaced. When the Browns made that decision, the league didn't just react, it paused. Because you don't wipe out an entire protection unit unless something deeper went wrong. And when that collapse happened in front of Shedeur Sanders, questions started forming. Was this simple underperformance, or was the franchise correcting something far more serious? NFL teams adjust constantly. One lineman struggles, replace him. 2 starters regress, rotate depth. But all 5? That is not an adjustment. That is a demolition.
Some people are trying to garner up some attention for him. That'd be Anthony Richardson, Colts quarterback, total flameout. I want to begin the segment by saying I don't think that Anthony Richardson has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. If you're talking about between Anthony Richardson and Shedeur Sanders was gifted everything possible throughout his college career and throughout his upbringing.
When Cleveland officially moved on from its entire starting offensive line, analysts didn't debate whether it was bold. They questioned why it was necessary in the first place. Offensive lines are built on continuity, chemistry, timing, communication that develops over thousands of snaps. You don't discard that lightly, yet the Browns did. That decision alone signals urgency. It signals internal frustration. It signals that whatever was happening on Sundays wasn't just a rough stretch, it was unacceptable. Because replacing 5 starters carries financial consequences, locker room ripple effects, and massive risk.
All the people down him, saying FCS this, his daddy saving him. Hey, y'all just watch him come out here and whoop one of y'all favorite teams, so stop down him.
So what would push a front office to take that leap? On the surface, the answer seems simple. Protection failures, sacks piling up, pressures arriving too fast, drives stalling before they could develop rhythm. But protection breakdowns happen across the league every week. Most teams diagnose and patch. Cleveland detonated. That's what made it different.
I think I've seen a guy be better, more accurate with the Browns, being in Shedeur Sanders. I think I see a guy who might have a better grip on our offense. Possibly with Shedeur Sanders. Now, the last one is very speculative, obviously.
We don't know what it is.
Because we don't necessarily know exactly what it's going to be from day one. Shedeur Sanders is probably already getting himself ready for such an offense. But for Anthony Richardson, my opinion of him as a starting quality quarterback is so low that I feel that it would just be a tremendous mistake to bring him in and say, okay, you're competing for the starting job.
When a franchise wipes out its entire front 5, it's choosing a direction. It's saying the problem isn't cosmetic, it's structural. Someone's development mattered more than preserving continuity. And that someone was standing behind that collapsing pocket, Shedeur Sanders.
So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it? Nah, I'd rather, if we're going to go down, I'd rather go down swinging, honestly, because I know I can throw the best punch.
The message was loud. The organization was no longer evaluating him. It was protecting him. And that shift alone changed the entire narrative around the Browns season. At first glance, it looked like typical growing pains, a young quarterback adjusting to NFL speed, an offense finding rhythm, mistakes piling up under pressure. That was the easy explanation, but the tape told a different story.
That's how I am the same with everybody else when it's not there. We just wasn't on the same page tonight, I'll say, overall. But we just got to watch the film and get better.
There were snaps where the pocket didn't even form. Edge rushers came through untouched. Blitzes identified pre-snaps still arrived clean. Stunts that veteran linemen usually pass off smoothly turned into instant chaos. Once or twice, that's football. Repeatedly in high-leverage moments, that becomes uncomfortable. 3rd and long, red zone drives, momentum-building possessions. The breakdowns weren't random. They showed up when timing mattered most. That pattern forced fans and analysts to rewind games, slow clips down, and ask tougher questions. Was this simply poor execution, or was there internal instability? No official claim of sabotage exists, no confirmed evidence of intentional failure, but speculation grows when patterns feel too consistent. When the same types of breakdowns appear in eerily similar ways, doubt enters the conversation. At the same time, Shedeur wasn't unraveling. He stepped up through pressure. He kept his eyes downfield. He delivered tight window throws under duress. His composure didn't match the chaos around him. That contrast was striking. Usually, when a quarterback struggles, you see hesitation, you see panic. Instead, you saw resilience, which flipped the question entirely. If the quarterback wasn't collapsing under pressure, why was the structure around him collapsing so frequently? That's when this stopped being about sacks and started being about alignment. Stats can mislead. Sack totals don't show how fast pressure arrives. Completion percentage doesn't reveal collapsing pockets. To understand what really happened, you have to watch the film. And the film raised eyebrows. There were plays where defenders reached Shedeur in under 2 seconds. Routes hadn't broken. Protection angles looked miscommunicated. Interior pressure split gaps that shouldn't exist at that level. When protection fails instantly, quarterbacks don't operate, they survive. Yet Shedeur kept operating. He slid laterally to buy time. He reset his feet in shrinking space. He delivered throws with defenders closing in. Some completions shouldn't have been possible given the timing, but they were. That's not the behavior of someone overwhelmed. That's someone adapting. Fans began sharing slow-motion clips online. Frame-by-frame breakdowns circulated. Pressure rate charts told a harsher story than highlight reels did. When rushers consistently arrive before a quarterback finishes his drop, development becomes nearly impossible. The criticism initially landed on Shedeur. Headlines questioned readiness. Analysts debated whether he was holding the ball too long. But once protection metrics surfaced, the conversation shifted.
His NFL career, he has had to fight and claw through everything possible to get to the point where he's had. So if you're going based off of a guy that I believe is going to be hungry to get himself up to the level of being a franchise quarterback that isn't one right now, I would 100% take Shedeur Sanders over Anthony Richardson.
Even elite veterans struggle when protection collapses instantly. Young quarterbacks often crumble. Shedeur didn't. That resilience reframed everything. Instead of asking whether he was the issue, people began asking whether he was fighting upstream within a fractured structure. And once that idea takes hold, that maybe the quarterback wasn't the weak link, the entire narrative changes. Because then, the offensive line reset doesn't look like panic. It looks like protection of an investment the franchise quietly decided it cannot afford to lose. When the Browns officially moved on from all 5 starting offensive linemen, the conversation shifted overnight. This was no longer about diagnosing a struggling unit. This was about choosing a direction as a franchise, because you don't absorb that level of disruption unless you've made a decision internally. And that decision felt clear. Shedeur Sanders is the centerpiece. Front offices are calculated. They understand cap implications. They understand locker room morale. They understand the risk of publicly admitting something failed. So when Cleveland detonated its protection unit instead of defending it, that action spoke louder than any press conference ever could. It signaled accountability. It told the locker room that hesitation and inconsistency would not be tolerated. It told the fan base that the organization recognized what everyone saw on film. And most importantly, it told the quarterback that his development mattered more than protecting reputations. That's a culture shift. For weeks, the narrative centered on whether Shedeur was ready, whether he was forcing throws, whether he needed more time. After the reset, that tone softened. Media discussions pivoted towards support pieces instead of replacement quarterbacks. Mock drafts stopped speculating about finding alternatives and started projecting offensive tackles and weapons. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. When a team rebuilds the foundation around a young quarterback, it clarifies hierarchy. There is no more evaluation phase, there is commitment, and commitment changes energy inside a building. Linemen block differently when they know the organization has drawn a line. Coaches call plays differently when doubt has been removed. Receivers run routes differently when leadership is defined. The Browns could have quietly rotated personnel and avoided headlines. They didn't. They made the loudest possible statement: 5 chairs empty. That kind of move doesn't erase the past overnight, but it reframes it. The collapse becomes a warning, not a verdict. The chaos becomes fuel, not a flaw. And now, with the reset complete, Cleveland isn't asking whether Shedeur belongs. They're building as if he already does. Now comes the real test, because replacing an offensive line grabs headlines, but the NFL draft reveals intention. Cleveland enters the draft with capital, multiple picks, flexibility, options across rounds. That's power, and power exposes priorities. After everything that unfolded, protection breakdowns, whispers of internal tension, the historic reset, the Cleveland cannot afford a neutral draft. Every selection will be analyzed through one lens. Does this help Shedeur Sanders? If their early picks reinforce the trenches, the message is clear. Protection is priority one. If they invest in dynamic receivers or tight ends who thrive in timing systems, that signals offensive synchronization. If they ignore those areas and draft for balance instead, the conversation reopens instantly. Because this isn't about best player available in a vacuum, it's about alignment. Franchises don't just draft talent, they draft narratives. They draft proof of belief. And after detonating the offensive line, Cleveland positioned itself at a crossroads. Double down around the quarterback or risk looking indecisive. The modern NFL no longer revolves around rigid systems. It revolves around quarterbacks. Elite passers are not drafted to fit into pre-existing structures anymore. Instead, organizations reshape their identity around them. Protection schemes, receiver personnel, play-calling philosophy, even locker room leadership. Everything orbits the centerpiece. That's the ecosystem model. And when it works, it accelerates development and maximizes potential. Shedeur has already shown flashes of composure in unstable conditions. He operated through collapsing pockets, delivered under pressure, and maintained poise when chaos surrounded him. But flashes under stress are only part of the equation. The real transformation happens when stability replaces survival. What happens when 3rd and long isn't panic mode? When the pocket forms cleanly and progressions unfold as designed? When receivers break routes exactly on time and protection holds just long enough for plays to breathe? That's the difference between fighting to stay afloat and controlling the game. That's where potential becomes production. Now everything comes down to Cleveland's next move. The draft is no longer just about adding talent, it's about proving intention. If the Browns use their picks to aggressively strengthen protection, improve offensive chemistry, and surround Shedeur with explosive, reliable weapons, then the offensive line reset will look strategic, not emotional. It will signal that the franchise isn't reacting to noise, it's building a foundation around its quarterback. That's how a true quarterback-centered era begins. But hesitation shifts the tone instantly. If the draft feels scattered, if support appears partial or secondary, the same doubts that once hovered over this roster will resurface. The NFL does not reward uncertainty. Half measures create instability, and instability slows development. Cleveland is standing at a rare organizational turning point. The protection collapse exposed cracks in the structure. The offensive line reset declared belief in a new direction. Now the draft becomes the verdict. Was that belief symbolic, a temporary correction, or is it the blueprint for constructing the future entirely around Shedeur Sanders?